Oh, hi there, hello.
This is the first in a video series on Blizzard's mismanagement of the WoW Classic community, what lessons can be learned from it, and what we can do now. This video is brought to you by Heartsbox, free emotional support for whatever you're going through. So let's start by discussing how vanilla Warcraft actually worked and the early days of Classic. A lot of people didn't understand, but Warcraft is a social game. It was about meeting people, building your reputation, and forming relationships with others. There was a lot of community-driven content. The game wasn't about grinding out achievements or gear. It was about how much value could be found in your interaction with others. And this is especially true on role-playing servers. Part of these interactions involved developing a backstory for your character and the style that they use to interact with others. So let's take a look at my character in Vanilla Classic. And in order to understand this, you're going to have to know about Alamo. Now, Boople isn't really based off of Alamo, but it's very obviously how you play a druid in WoW Classic, right? There's kind of a Ken has cheeseburger thing that goes on with bear druids, right? And this cat is for fight style of typing was incorporated and published in multiple Blizzard titles. That's pretty important considering that it's what I was banned for. So let's try to understand the overall concept of the Boople character. I'm a firm believer that everyone should be allowed to play. Historically, roleplay was very exclusive. Like if you went up to a roleplay community wearing bunny ears, they just wouldn't talk to you. They would get really mad. They would start reporting you for even existing. It was a nightmare, right? Boople's goal is to ensure that people who feel out of place in that environment feel more welcome to join, right? It's kind of like a come on in, the water's fine type of thing. Like whatever you feel like doing, you can do it. We're not going to judge you, right? You also have to understand that Boople is a tank. He's always in bear form. And just like he tanks dungeons, he also absorbs all the negativity of the server and converts it into kind of fluff. I believe that how you play the game in a community game is taking care of others. If someone needs help, it doesn't matter how much gear or gold you have. Your time is always worth exactly the same as theirs. That's a good community. And taking care of the community comes before personal gain. So let's look at Boople. He's the most wholesome character you can imagine. He speaks a phonetic language, and it isn't for everyone, but that's what the ignore system is for, or at least that's what Blizzard tells us. Boople has been 100% in character for 4 years straight from day one, and this wasn't a problem until recently. He sits on the mailbox all day and gives away free bunnies and ice cream to new players. Before we delve into the technical details of this, it's good to know that our server has grown from fewer than 5,000 hardcore RPers to over 16,000 transfers from non-RP servers. I definitely welcome the new players, and we've tried to integrate them into our culture, but the truth is that it's no longer an RP-centric server. It's basically a PvE mega server at this point. So let's look at the terms of service and how they apply to this situation. Behavior that intentionally detracts from others' enjoyment, such as griefing, throwing, feeding, etc., is unacceptable. We expect our players to treat each other with respect and promote an enjoyable environment. Acceptable behavior is determined by player reports and Blizzard's decision, and violating these guidelines will result in account and gameplay restrictions. Now, the important word here is intentionally. I have proved repeatedly that it is not my intention to disrupt other people's gameplay. And if you've spent any time with Boople, you'll know that it's quite the opposite. I'm there to spread love and bunnies, you know. While we encourage you to report players that are behaving in a disrespectful manner, falsely reporting another player with the sole intent of restricting their gameplay is also unacceptable and will result in penalties to your account. Now, this is also significant because I have proven that people keep me off of Ignore just to report me, which is trying to restrict my gameplay. And keep in mind throughout this video that I was banned for abusive language each time. On May 22nd, 2022, I was muted for a month for looking for a group. I literally just typed Boople Snoot looking for snuggle group. Helping people block spam in 4. I gave them my Boople spam add-on. And telling people to do their bunny best. Now, as it should have been, this action was overturned. It was a really hard case to plead, and if you've ever tried to argue anything in Blizzard's moderation system, you know it's basically impossible. So I actually got the okay to talk like this in the future, as long as the things I said were supportive. Come November 11th, 2022, Blizzard was in a moderation crisis. It was taking them months to get back on tickets. At this point, I was banned for giving away free bunnies and interacting with my friends. Didn't say anything bad, they just didn't like the style I talk. And this is just random people on the server. They'll walk by when I'm having a conversation and they'll just right-click report me. And prior to this, I was really happy that I got the okay for Boople to just exist, because that's my character for 4 years now. The resolution to this one, it took them 2 weeks to respond to my appeal. They unbanned me, but immediately closed any request to refund me because they were too busy to deal with it. I was eventually credited with 30 days of game time for the suspension, so that kind of proves out I should be allowed to do this, right? Everything's quiet for 6 months. And then on May 26, 2023, I'm banned for, again, giving away free bunnies. People like to come up to me at the mailbox and give me presents and just say good morning and say hi to me. And interacting with those people was part of the ban. At one point, people were threatening to report me in trade, saying they don't like me, and I invited them to our major RP event instead of being rude to them. But that was part of the ban, that I invited them to an RP event. And then someone was harassing me, so I repeatedly stated that they were not my friend and I'm not associated with them. And they were harassing me for over an hour. So that was part of the ban. The resolution here is that it was upheld by a senior game master, so this is where we're at. We can do a deep dive into these tickets in a later video, but it's important to understand the context around this ban. So the next steps here, it starts with me drafting a letter to Blizzard's legal team. They'll have 30 days to attempt to resolve this with me privately. After that, it moves to arbitration in the state of California. Arbitration is like a private court proceeding, but because it's not public, Blizzard doesn't have to answer for or explain anything that happens during it. We'll also be putting up a petition for Blizzard to improve their abusive moderation system. We'll be releasing a video in the next couple of weeks on that, so stay tuned. And that's going to be part of a deep dive into Blizzard's moderation system and how to fix it. This will be community driven. We'll release a couple of videos outlining the problems and possible solutions, get community feedback, and try to sort out the most efficient way to convert their abusive system into one that actually promotes improvement. Just a quick idea of how bad it is. Their game masters don't have names, so you can't identify who you're talking to or who took account actions against you. They won't tell you what you did wrong. And even in the case that you improve on what you did wrong, your penalties just keep getting worse. It takes over 6 months for a penalty to decay. So if people just report you, eventually your account will be closed for no reason whatsoever. On a more personal note, I've been having a rough time lately, and it really doesn't help being cut off from my social support network for 2 months in the past year by Blizzard, so any support is appreciated. Catch me on Twitch or interact with the algorithm in a meaningful way if you could. And if you need support yourself, head over to heartsbox.com. It's a free service that matches you with an anonymous listener to help you work through whatever you're going through. You're not alone in this. You'll need a Discord account, but that's it. Remember to smash that sub button with your dick, and don't forget to drink your milky.